Hello. To start up our group presentation, I am Mark Christian Amador. I'm gonna start with our program overview. So, welcome to our program overview of our library management system. Our program is designed to simulate an operation of library, allowing user to manage books and handle borrowing and returning activities effectively. The program is built to make library management simple, whether you're tracking the books availability, managing borrowers, and updating records. Now, let's talk about what this program is designed to do and how it works. What does our program do? At its core, the program acts as a digital library system. It lets users store books information. It can maintain the catalog of book with details like author, genre, title, and availability. It can also track books, borrowing, and returning. It records who borrowed which book and ensure the stock is updated when the books are borrowed or returned. Then it also manages book records. You can add new books, update existing ones, or even delete books that no longer needed. In short, the program is designed to give you complete control over your library operations through an easy to use menu system. Now let's talk about the key features in detail. So first, adding books. Imagine a library expanding their collection with feature like add new books to the library seamlessly. The program uses a 2D array called books to store up to 100 books where each row represents a book and the columns hold details like the ID, author, title, genre, and quantity. To ensure no two books have the same ID, the system checks uniqueness using the scan ID method. If the ID is valid, edit book the variable edit book details method used to input the book's information. Yun. It's simple systematic way to keep the library growing. 2. Another key feature is viewing books. Do you need to see what's in the library? The view books features displays all the books in the system. The program iterates over the books array and neatly prints each book's details like the ID, the title, and how many copies are available. And if there's no book in the library, the program doesn't just stop. It politely informs you that there's no longer book in the library to ensure that you always in the know about the inventory. And then another one is updating books. Got a typo on book title or need an update its quantity? The feature makes it easy to fix mistakes or modify book details. First, this is how it works. First, the program asks for the book ID to ensure you're editing the correct book, and then you can update the specific fields like the author, or the title, or even refresh all the detail at once. Then the heavy lifting here is done by the scan ID method for validation of and for the scan ID method for validation, and then the edit book details method for updating the book info. It's quick, efficient, and keeps record accurate. Now, another one of its key feature is deleting book. Sometimes books need to be removed from the collection. Maybe they are damaged or outdated or any other reasons. Using this feature, you can delete books by simply entering its ID. The program confirms the decision to avoid accidental removal and then uses a delete array row method to adjust the library's record. If the library is already empty, the program lets you know so you don't waste your time trying to delete non-existent entries. And then of course, we have the borrowing books feature. Borrowing books is one of the most exciting features of this program. Here's how it works. First, the program checks if the book array to see if the book is in stock by verifying its quantity. If available, it records the borrower's name, the details of the borrowed book in another array called borrowed books. The program then automatically reduces the book's quantity by 1. There's also a safeguard to ensure the borrowers can only have one book at a time, making the system fair for everyone. And then of course, the last one, returning books. Returning book is as smooth as borrowing. Smooth as borrowing. Borrower simply enters their name, and then the system searches the borrowed books array to find their record. Once confirmed, the book is marked as returned, and its quantity in the book array is updated. If the returned book has been deleted from the library, perhaps due to damage or any other reasons, the program still handles the returned books gracefully, letting the admin know about the situation. With the overview completed, ay, that's all for the book features. And now, with all the overview completed, let's dive into the program structure and cover the magic behind the functionality. That will be Claude Alvarez will guide you through the initialization of the static variables, the main method, the dynamic menu system, and the role dummy data settings up the library. So that's it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Claude S. Alvarez, and today I'm going to explain our 4 main parts of our Java program. So our Java program has 4 main parts. Static is the first one, and static variables, these are global variables shared across the program. They are useful for storing data that doesn't belong to just one part of the code. And static variables are tied to the class itself, so they don't need an object to be accessed. They help avoid repetitive or redundant code. Moving on, we are going on the main menu. So the main menu is the user's entry point into the program. It's a simple text-based interface that displays options like this. Main menu like 1, add book, view books, update book, delete, borrow, return, and lastly, exit. The menu is created using a display menu method, making it reusable. It provides clear instructions for the user, and later we'll add code to capture their input and perform actions based on their choice. The main method is the first thing Java runs when the program starts. It's where we organize the flow of the program. Initially, it displays the menu, but as we expand the program, it will handle user input, call specific methods like showing dummy data or adding a user, and control the overall logic. This method acts like the brain that connects all the parts. So, moving on, lastly to the dummies, or as you can tell, test data. Dummies are pre-made data used to simulate real input while testing the program. For example, we have an array of names like dummy users, like this: Omar, Mark, Dre, Claude, Hart, and dummies. A method like dummy display data could loop through this array and print the names. Dummies are placeholders for real data, helping us test how the program behaves without requiring user input every time. So how does dummies work? When the program starts, the main method runs and calls display menu. The user sees the menu and chooses an option like 1. View dummy data.
Good day po. My name is Alexander Valderrama, and ngayon i-explain ko po yung add book method and yes or no. Ayan, una po is naglagay tayo ng add book para visible po sa user kung gusto niya po maglagay ng libro. And ngayon naman next, and nag-data type na string and variable na repeat. And mamaya ko po explain ko po yung kung anong ginagawa, saan yan nilagay o ano yung ginagawa niyan. Ngayon proceed na tayo sa if else statement. Dito eto nakalagay naman na kapag yung number of book is mas mababa sa 100, papasok siya dito sa loop natin. Ngayon sabihin muna natin na lampas na siya, parang hindi na siya pasok. Kapag hindi na po siya pasok, diretso siya dito sa else na magsasabi na full na po yung library and wala na pong additional books na pwedeng malagay. Ngayon, sabihin naman natin na pasok po siya. Kapag pasok po yan, and diretso po siya dito sa loob ng do while. And dito po sa loob ng do while, parang ini-ensure po nito na nakakapaglagay po yung user ng isang book isa-isa. And yung pati na rin po yung mga susunod niyang libro na ilalagay. Tapos dito sa while repeated equals ignore case while, dito po para lang po to sa if ever man po na nagdagdag po siya tapos small letter po na y yung nalagay niya or ayun po, small capital siyang y, papasok pa rin siya sa natin, sa loob ng loop. Parang tatanggapin pa rin siya para makapasok dito sa loob naman ng loop na yan. Ngayon, pupunta naman tayo sa edit book details. Ito po, method siya. Tapos, yung niya, may parameter siyang num of books, 0 and 5. Etong num of books, ito yung current number niya na number of books. Ito yung 0, parang ito yung column ng index para sa book ID, tapos etong 5 para sa quantity. Para maintindihan po yun, pupunta tayo sa edit book details. Dahil na-explain na po ito yung library na parang papahapyawan ko nito po. And ito, dito sa edit book details po natin, meron to po tayong input, kasi pag tinawag po yung method na dun sa add book method, ang mangyari po is papag-promptin po ulit yung user ng enter book ID, ito po, name of author, title of the book, genre of the book, and yung quantity. And para naman po siya makapagtuloy-tuloy, kailangan po yung book ID is unique. Dito na po pumapasok yung validation. Kapag unique po yung book ID niya, tatanggapin po, papasok siya dun sa kapag naglalagay ng book ID, pasok, ibig sabihin unique siya. Kapag else, di po siya tatanggapin. Ngayon, balik na tayo dun sa add book method. Book, date, view, and ito, nandito na po tayo ngayon. Kapag successfully na po naman po siyang yung user nakapag-prompt na ng mga libro, mga details, and ngayon, kapag successfully na po siyang nakapaglagay ng mga yon, mag-i-increment po siya kasi add book nga po kaya yung number of books madadagdagan. Halimbawa 5 siya currently ngayon, kapag nagdagdag yung user, magiging 6 siya. Tapos para naman malaman yung user na nakapag-add na siya, nag-sys out po kami na itong book successfully is added. Ganun. Tapos, next naman pong part is dito sa if else statement po ulit siya sa loob ng do while loop. Ngayon, itong if else statement na to, parang lang po yan. Parang ito lang po, yung nasa labas na if else statement natin kanina. Parang sine-check niya lang if ever man na yung number of books is, yung i-add na number of books is lampas ng 100, is sasabihin niya lang ulit sa else na the library has reached its maximum capacity. And ang mangyayari po dyan, magre-return na siya and babalik sa menu. Kapag ayun po, yung case na po yan is kapag sobra na. Ngayon, sabihin po natin ulit na pasok siya dito sa yung number of books, mas mababa ulit sa 100 pa, pasok pa siya. dito po, kapag pasok siya, parang magkakaroon yung option, magtatanong po tayo ngayon kung gusto po yun ng user, maglagay siya ng another book. Kaya may why or no. Tapos, dito na po papasok yung na method na yes or no. Ngayon, ito nga po kanina, sinabi ko yung string repeat. Parang, yung string repeat po, dun po natin nilagay yung value sa string repeat po, dito po natin nilagay yung method na prompt yes or no. Ano nga po ba to? Pero titingnan po, madali lang naman yan. Kaya, nandito po yan sa baba. Edit book details. Ito po siya. Another method po siya na string, and explain na natin yung loob ng code. Dito, naka-while true siya para pag magtatanong, ulit-ulit, lalabas po siya ng ulit-ulit. Kaya naka-while true. Ngayon, pag pumasok na tayo sa loob ng while true, parang hihingi ulit siya ng papapilian yung user ng kung gusto niya pa bang magdagdag, ganun. Tapos, dito naman sa string siya, kaya yes or no yung hinihingi, kaya ang niya, data type is string po, tapos scan that. Ngayon, sa equals ignore case naman tayo. Kaya nga po sa if else pala po muna, tapos equals ignore case. Ngayon, sabi ko nga po kanina, kapag equals ignore case, parang i-ignore na lang po either small po yung small letter ng Y or capital. Parang tatanggapin niya pa rin po. And ganun din po siya dito sa no. Parang tatanggapin niya din either small or capital. Tapos may or po siya para sa choices ng user kung magdadagdag pa po ba siya or no. Ngayon, kapag nakapaglagay naman po yung user, i-return niya lang po yung response. Tapos kapag na-return niya po tong response na to, response. Ayan, response. Ngayon, in case man po na yung user, may input niya po is hindi po siya Y or N. Halimbawa, ang na-input niya, mga W, ganon, E, or sentence man na da, ganon. Ang may input lang po na nalalabas is please enter Y or N only, kasi ang valid lang pong doon, option na sagot dyan is Y or N. Ngayon, proceed na po ulit tayo dun sa add book method na program. Dito na tayo sa repeat yes or no. Dito po ngayon, dahil tapos na tayo dyan, na-explain ko na po yan. Dito na tayo sa else. Dito naman po, kapag else na, ibig sabihin lang po niyan, katulad po ng kagaya na kanina, kapag lumampos po yung book sa 100, ibig sabihin, hindi na po siya makapaglagay ng another book. Kaya lalabas, the library has reached its maximum capacity. And ngayon, nag-return po ulit. Ito pong return to is, kaya po siya nandiyan para i-exit niya po yung method dahil yung capacity po ng library is full na, which is 100. Kapag lumagpas po doon, siya na po yung magpo-function para mag-exit po yung method. And ayun lang po. And ayun po yung that's all my report about add book and yes or no methods. Ayun lang po. Thank you.
Good day guys, I'm Andre Barina, and for today's video, I'm going to explain what are the utility functions in our program. First is the edit book details method. These methods enabling us to effortlessly update or modify books details like titles, authors, or categories to ensure that our book records stay accurate and up to date. First is the parameters on this method. Book row is the row in 2D array books corresponding to the book that being edited based on user's ID selected or entered. Then starting index and the end index. These define the range of columns in the book array to update. Then the for loop is int column is equals to starting index, and if column is less than end, i-iterate yung column. So, in switch statement, dito naman tayo sa switch statement, in case 0, we initialize a data type string called book ID to store the user's input and data type int called unique to store and check the user's inputted data and scan ID method. Then inside the while true, and in while true, it prompts the users to enter a book ID and scans the user's input and store a string variable called book ID. Here, as you can see then. And after that, call the scan ID method to check the existence of the given ID in a specific column into the array. And if the book ID is unique, the scan ID method will return -1. Here is the scan ID method. Then, as you can see, if the statement, then in if statement, we have this if variable unique is equals to -0, it's gonna break the loop, or else it's gonna print enter a unique ID. After that, assign the unique user's given book ID in a book's entry. In case 1, the program prompts the users to input the name of the author, then scan the user's input using next line here, and assign the given data to the author column into the array, which is 1 in the case here that represent the case. Then for the other cases, it goes the same. Like in the case 2, it prompt for users input, then assign the given data column in which is in this statement. So that's it. Array deleter method. This method deletes an array row and update the current number of books based on array type. The parameters in these methods are the delete row refers to the index of the row to be deleted. Then the array starting book editor pa, bullshit. Ito pala. Array size is the current number of rows in the array. Then call size is the number of the columns in the array. And the given array is the 2D array from which row will be deleted. And the type specifies the type of array that the user want to delete. And as you can see, for int row is equals to DLT row, then if row is less than array size, mag-iterate yung row. Then these loops implements the logics to shift the rows of the 2D array by one position after a specified row has been deleted. Then the row deleted row. This one. Delete row. The loop starts at the row that is being deleted. This is because we need to begin overwriting the data at this row. Outer loop. If row is less than array size, the loop runs until the second to last row. Which is then row is array size -1. We're copying the data from row +1, the row below this one, to ensure that all the rows below the deleted row are shifted upwards. So in inner loop, this starts at the first column of the row, which is this one. Then call is less than call size, then iterates through all columns in a row. This ensures that all the columns of the current row are updated with the data from the next row, which is row +1. Given array. And this one here copies the data from the row below into the current row, which is row, to row +1. And as you can see, we have two switch statement here that named type. In case 1, this handles the deletion of books, and that case 2 handles the deletion of borrow books in the given array. So as you can see in the column 0, we put the book ID number, and the column 1 and the column 2 and 3, 4 is represent in the switches, as you can see. Then if ever the user selected the column 1 here, it'll change the author. Example, we change it to Omar. Then the program will proceed to switch to, as you can see in our program, in switch to that represent in the index 2 called title, and change it to go. In our program, as you can see, these cases numbers represent the index in our given array. So for 1 is represent the 1, which is the author. The 2 is for the book title. The case 3 represent the book genre, and the 4 is for the book row.
My name is Jose Paul Aparece. Then I will be discuss the view book method in the given code is designed to display the details of all available books in the library. Here's a step-by-step explanation of how it works. The method is declared as a public static, meaning it can access without needing an object's instance of the class. It prints the list of books along with their details, such as a book ID, author, title, genre, and the quantity. First is the displaying header. The system out print line the available books prints a header to indicate that the list of books will follow. Then if if statement, the method first check if there are any books in the library by comparing number of books, the total number of books to 0. If num of books is greater than 0, it means there are books to display. If num of books is 0, a message is shown to indicate no books are available. Then for loop, this here this for loop iterates through all the books stored in the books array. The available counter represents index of the current book being processed. Then the inner loop is for each book. Another for loop is used to access its details. The details are stored in the 2D array books, where books counter 0 is the book ID. Then books counter 1 is the author, books counter 2 is the title, books counter 3 is the genre, then books counter 4 is the quantity. Then for printing its detail, we use the switch case. Then which we use the switch case. Then the switch statement determines the type of all detail displayed based on the full value. Each case corresponds to a specific attribute of the book ID, author, and etc. The details are printed by one. Then switch call, case 0 is system out print the book ID plus book counter, then call. Then break, case 1 system out print, then author plus books counter, then call. Then break, case 2 system out print line, the title, books counter, then call. Then case 3 system out print the genre, the plus books counter, then call, then break. Case 4, system out print line the quantity plus books counter, then call. Then for spacing between books, the system out print line is to add a specific spacing between books for a better read, readability. Then for the else system out print line, there are no books in the library to inform the user that no books are available. Then I'll show you the output of the view books. Then this is the available books, which is the current number of books is 5.
Now, moving on to update book method. So this method will trigger if the user chooses to update book in the user chooses the update book option in the main menu. So what does it do? So first of all, it simply prints out this line, update a book. So basically this tells the user that they are in the update book section. Okay. Next, there is going to be an if statement. This if statement checks if the num of books is greater than 0. Basically, if the number of books is greater than 0, then there is a book that can be updated. If there is no book to be updated, if the num of book is not greater than 0, then it will simply just print out there are no books in the library. Okay. So if there is num of books, then it will cover all of this code. Okay. Inside this if statement, there is going to be a string name repeat. Basically, let's talk about this later. Inside this if statement, there is a do while loop. Inside this do while loop, we are going to initialize 3 variables: string book ID, string confirm, int update, which has a value of -1. Inside this do while loop, there is another loop, which is a while loop. Okay. Inside this loop, it will print out enter the ID of the book. So basically, it tells the user to enter the ID of the book that they want to be updated, that they want to update. And then the book ID, the ID of the user that they entered will be stored in the variable book ID. Now, the update integer, the update variable will be scanned by this method, which is explained by Mr. Andre earlier. So basically, what this does is scan if the book ID exists. So that's it. So as you can see the update integer has the value of -1. So if the book ID does not exist, then it will remain -1, which will not accept this if statement. So it will go down here, which will print out invalid book ID. Please try again. But if the book ID exists, then it will fall down here. Now, if now after that, the system will simply print out the book ID and the title of the book. It will ensure if it will just simply ensure if this is the book that you want to update. So the string variable earlier that you initialize, it will simply magkakaroon siya ng value na y or n. So with this prompt yes or no method, it simply returns y or n. Now, if the confirm variable is equals to y, then you confirm that that is the book that you want to update. Else, if the confirm is equals to n, then it will print out update cancelled for book ID, and then the book ID will be displayed. Now, if it is kung ayun yung book na gusto mong i-update, it will prompt another ayun, kung anong gusto mong i-update. If you want to specify update or update all the details. Now, there is going to be another string update type, and then it will be equals to the method prompt yes or no. It simply returns yes. It simply returns y or n. Now, if you want to specify fields to update, you will enter y. And this will happen. If update type is equals to y, it will display all the details of the book. And then you are going to choose what to update: author, title, genre, or quantity. Now, we're going to initialize another variable, info, which is equals to scan range 1 to 4. So basically, this method which is explained earlier, the first variable here is kung ano yung range. Kunyari, 1 to 4 lang naman pagpipilian, then 1 tong una. Then yung panghuli is 4 kasi 1 to 4 yung pagpipilian. Okay, ngayon, dahil mag-edit ka na ng book details, papasok ka dito sa panibagong method na naman, which is called edit book details. So, which is explained earlier nga by Mr. Andre. Basically, it updates the book details. So, as we can see here, okay, it simply just update the book's detail. Now, if the user chooses n in this prompt, then it will cover all the details. So, it will simply update all. Edit book details, so tatanungin, lahat-lahat yan, author, title, genre, quantity, mag-iiba yan. Depende sa i-enter ng user. Now, so ayun, tapos na to lahat. After that, magpa-prompt yung program na would you like to update another book, y/n. Ngayon, ito yung repeat variable na in-initialize nyo kanina sa pinakataas. Basically, equals prompt yes or no na naman siya. So, magdedepende yan sa return value ng method na to. So, pag y, ibig sabihin, yung do while loop nyo is uulit kasi nga y pa rin yung value. Pero if n na siya, dito, n yung in-enter ng user, then, ayun, tapos na yung update book method. So, ayun lang. Now, the delete book method will be discussed by Mr. L'Oreal Abiad. Thank you very much.
I am L'Oreal Abiad and we'll be discussing the delete book methods. Delete book methods will run if the administrator or user want to delete a book with a verified book ID. From display delete book. If num of book greater than to 0. If num book is less than to 0, it will go to the else, which notify the user that there's a no book to delete and display, and print there are no book in the library. And the program inside a do while loop, which start a loop that will repeat a book deletion process as long the user wants to delete more books. Inside a do while loop, initial the to -1 to indicate no book is selected. Inside a do while loop or while loop and run until book ID is validated. Prompt the user to enter the book ID for deletion. They validate the enter book ID and calls the scan ID method to check if the enter book ID is valid. If valid, it returns the index of the book in the array. Otherwise, it returns -1. If the book is less than or equal to 0, it will go to else and display invalid book ID. Please try again. If is greater than to 0, it will run. Confirm if the user wants to delete the selected book. String confirm from yes or no. If the book is valid, the deletion index is greater than or equal to 0. It displays the book confirmation and asks the user for confirmation to delete of the book. If confirm equals ignore case y, delete book and adjust the array, and print successful delete. Else if confirm is equal to ignore case and notify the user that deletion was cancelled and display cancelled. If the user cancelled the deletion by typing in, the program prints the deletion message with the book ID. Break. Exit the validation loop after handling a valid type. If number greater than 0, check if the or book are still to delete and display should you like to delete another book, yes or no, and else display the library is now empty. And the next method will discussed by Jerome Ivan Beata.
Public static void borrow books declares a public static method named borrowBook, which is responsible for allowing user to borrow books from the library. System out print line book borrowing string repeat if num of books is greater than 0 ensures that books are available in the library before allowing borrowing. If there are no books, it skips the borrowing process. Do starts a loop that allows user to borrow multiple books in one session. String book ID string name int borrow equals -1 int not borrowed equals 0. While true starts a loop for repeatedly prompting the user to enter a valid book ID. System out print next enter book ID. Book ID equals scan next line. Prompts the user to enter the ID of the book they want to borrow. Borrow equals scan ID. Book ID num of books 0 calls the scan ID method to check if the entered book ID exists in the library. If borrow is greater than or equals 0, if the book exists, proceed to borrowing logic. Int quantity equals integer dot parse int books borrow 4 if quantity is greater than 0. Parses the book's quantity from the library data and checks if there are copies available to borrow. System out print enter borrower's name. Name equals scan dot next line. Prompts the user to enter their name. Not borrowed equals scan name borrowed books 1 calls scan ID to check if the users already borrowed a book. If not borrowed is equals to -1, the user has not borrowed a book and can proceed if not borrowed is -1. Borrowed plus equals 1. Borrowed books, borrowed -1, 0. Books, borrowed 0. Borrowed books, borrowed -1, 1 equals name. Borrowed books, borrowed -1, 0 equals books, borrow 2. Updates the borrowed book array with the book ID, borrower's name, and book title. Quantity minus equal 1. Borrow books, borrow 4 equals integer dot to string quantity. Decreases the quantity of the borrowed books by 1 and updates the library records. System out print line borrowed books borrowed -1 1 plus borrowed book ID plus borrowed books borrowed -1 0 plus title plus borrowed books borrowed -1 2 plus successfully. Else system out print line you already borrowed a book. If not borrowed is not -1, the user is informed that they can't borrow another book. Break. Exit the loop after a valid borrow. Else. System out print line. Unfortunately, the title is currently out of stock. Break. Exit the loop if no books are available. If there are, if the book quantity is 0, the user is informed that the book is out of stock and the loop breaks. Else. System out print line. Please enter a valid book. If the entered book ID doesn't exist, the user is prompted to try again. System out print line. Do you want to borrow another book? Repeat equals prompt yes or no. Ask the user if they want to borrow another book and stores the response in repeat. While repeat that equals ignore case y. Repeats the borrowing process if the user enters y. Else, system out print line. There are no books in the library. If no books are available, display the message and exit the method. The return book method will be explained by Jomar Aquino.
Hello, I'm Jomar A. Aquino and I'm here to explain about the return book. Sa part pong to na if borrowed greater than 0, this checks if any books have been borrowed by verifying the number of books or number of borrowed books. And if there are borrowed books naman po, the process continues and or otherwise the method ends with a message. Then dito po sa do while naman po, yung do while po namin ay a do while loop is used to allow the user to return multiple books without re-entering the methods. And ito pong integer borrower index. Ito po yung index of the borrower in the borrowed books list. And yung book ID index naman po, index po siya sa book in the library database po. And yung borrower name po, yung name of the person po nung magbabalik po nung book. And then yung confirmation po is, or confirm, yung the user confirmation to return the book. Then, dito po sa part na while true po, dito po, a loop is used to keep prompting the user until a valid borrower name is entered. Dito po sa while true po. Then, yung sa part kong scan ID po, dito, is called to find the borrower's index in the borrower's books po array by comparing the input name or borrower name po. Then, if a valid borrower is found, yung borrower index will be non-negative po. Since na-explain ko na po yung first part po sa about sa enters borrower's name po, ito po yung output niya. Run po natin. Then, enter tayo ng 6 which is return book. Enter natin borrower's name. Lagyan natin J. Since hindi po tayo nag-borrow since hindi nag-borrow si Jake, ito po yung lalabas. You did not borrow any books. Then, kahit paulit-ulit po natin ilagay yan, hindi po siya kahit ano pong pangalan. Then, try po natin mag-borrow ng book. First po is, view muna po natin yung mga books. Then, try po natin i-borrow yung book 1 which is, ito po, yung book 1. Then, yung quantity po niya is 5. Then, borrow tayo, 5. Enter natin si book 1. Then, lagay natin pangalan, J. Then, no. Since nakapag-borrow na po tayo ng books, pakita ko lang po sa inyo yung sa view books. Then, tingnan nyo, kung makikita nyo po, yung quantity po niya sa book 1 is 4 na lang po. Kanina po, 5. Naging, since nag-borrow po tayo ng isang book, naging 4 na lang po. Then, try po natin mag-return ng book. Return po tayo ng book. 6. Enter natin si Jake. Then, yes. Since naba-return na po natin yung book, lalabas na po dyan si successfully returned. Then, i-ask po tayo kung gusto niya po, kung gusto pa po, humiram ng isa pang book. Once the borrower is found, the book they borrowed is displayed showing the book ID and title from the borrowed books array. The user is asked for confirmation to proceed with the return using the method from yes or no. Ito po yung sa part niya sa do you want to return another book. Then, mag-a-ask po siya ng yes or no. If the user, dito po sa part na to, if the user confirms with yes, the method looks for the book in the library's database by calling scan ID again with the book's ID. And if the book if the book exists in database, it is removed from the borrowed books list using delete array row. Dito po. Sa part na to, i-explain po natin mamaya. Then, if the book is no longer in the library's database, book ID index equal -1, notice is displayed that the book is delete from the database. Ito po yun yung sa part na to. And if the book is still in the database, the quantity of the book is updated by increasing it by 1. The book has been returned. And yun po, sa part po na ito, explain ko din po yung pinaka-output niya po. Try po natin ulit mag-return book, ay mag-borrow po ng book ulit yun, which is 5. Enter po natin is si book 1. Enter ulit natin si Jake. Then no. Then delete natin yung book 1. Try natin i-delete yung book 1. Enter the ID book of the book and book 1. Then yes. You like to delete? No. Then try po natin return kung ma-return po natin yung book 1. Enter borrower's name, Jake. Yes. Then yes po natin. Since dinelete po natin yung book 1, ang lalabas po dito is yung part po na ito, yung which is admin notice, this book is currently deleted from the database. Since dinelete po natin siya, ito po yung lalabas. Then no. Then after the return process, magbe-break po siya dito, which is mag-exit po siya sa loop after the processing the return. Then after po nun, the user is asked if they want to return another book. If there are no borrowed books remaining, borrowed equal 0. The method exists early with return. This part po. So do you want to return another book? If there are no borrowed books in that system, ito po yung magpo-prompt. Yung there are no borrowers in the system. Then try po natin dun sa part po ng they want to return another book. Try po natin ng mag-borrow ng 5. Enter book 2. J. Yes. Enter book ID. Borrow ulit po tayo ng isa. Then book 3. There's borrow na. Since may Jake na po, hindi na po siya makaka-borrow ng isa pang book. Try po natin. J. Ito po yung lalabas. You have already borrowed a book. Hindi na po pwede siya mag-borrowed ng isa pang book since may book 2 na po siya. Then, try po natin ulit ng book 2. With another, mag-borrow po tayo ng isang book with another name po. Lagyan po natin 8. So, then try po natin return. Enter sa borrow name si J. Yes. Do you want to return another book? Yes. Which is, lagay po natin si Kate. Yung yes. No. After po pag ginis po siya ng do you want to return another book po? Paulit-ulit lang po yung lalabas. Then pag nag-no po, mag-e-exit na po siya sa pinaka Then ibabalik po siya do sa pinaka menu. Lang po. Thank you po.
Now, we are going to run the program and test if the user input handling is robust enough and if our library is functioning according to the given requirements. Now, we have here the introductory statement for our users, which is welcome to the library, and it shows the current number of books available to our library. Now, let's say I want to view those 5 books. Now, I'll just input or enter number 2. Now, as we can see, I have here the book IDs and the title of the books, and the authors and the genre, along with its quantity. Now, if I am a user want to borrow a book, I can see here which books can I borrow. Of course, if they have the quantity, if it's available to the database. Now, let's say I'm a administrator wanted to add a book to the system. Now, I would enter 1, add book. Now, for our book ID, it should be unique. So, books number 1 to 5 is already taken. I should input a book ID that is unique for our 6th book. Now, I would enter book 6. Now, I would enter the name of the author, which is for our book. Now, I would enter the title of the book. So, this book is titled, and it has a genre of fantasy. Now, let's say its quantity is just 2. Now, as we can see, the book is successfully added. Now, we would like to add another book as long as it is not 100 books. I mean, it is the database is not yet. Of course, you can add another book, but in this case, I would not add another book. Or yes, something. Of course, I would enter there. Of course, I cannot put a book ID number 6 as we did take it earlier. So this is book ID number 7. Our leader, Mark Amador, wrote this. Let's say the title of the book, its genre, and its quantity is R. Now, as we can see, we successfully added another book. Now we just choose N. It stands so that we could terminate the book add book section. As we can see, we are back on our main menu, and the current number of books is 7. Its former number is 5, right? So now we added 2 books, so now it's 7. Now if you like to view it, it'll be like this. Number 6, the author, the title, the genre, and its quantity. So you can see the book ID again, number 7, the name, the author, the title, the genre, its quantity. Now say what if we wanted to update a book in case of some errors, we want as administrators we want to edit it. Of course, we would like to choose update book, which is number 3. Now we would select the ID of the book that of course has existed in the database. So as this case, this is book number 1 to number 7, as we can see here. Now let's say I want to update book number 7, or what if I made an error, so it will prompt invalid book ID, please try again. Now of course, if we entered a book that has not existed, it will also prompt the user to try again. Now if we entered something, an ID that we want to actually update, which is book number 7, will now show a confirmation statement. Update book ID 7, title, the title that we entered earlier, so that the user or the administrator can know what are they updating. Now, they'll just select yes or no, that's for by your end. Just say yes, I want to update this book. Now we need to specify, or we will now choose the behavior of the update book that we want for easier update. For example, I just want to update the title. I would of course specify fields to update, but if I want to update it all, we'll just go and select update all details. So now I'll just specify the field. Now it will display 1 to 4 which field do I want to update, which the book that I update. Of course, for example, I want to update the quantity, so I will just select 4. What if the user entered invalid? Now it will prompt the user to that their input is invalid, that they need to enter an integer within the range of 1 to 4. Now if I entered 8, of course it is not within the range, it only needs 1 to 4. So now the quantity is 4, so now choose 4. Enter quantity, say I added a book, the administrators or the developers added a book, which is they added 1, so now become 6. Would you like to update another book? Of course, we can edit as much as we like without terminating it, without going back to the menu over and over if we want to update again. So, well, in this case, in my case, I'll just go and select. Oh yeah, I want to update that. I want to show you what if the user wanted to update all the details. Now let's say book 7 again. We want to update book 7 again. Well, yes, I want to update this book. And N, I want to update user. Of course, input an invalid input again. Enter an invalid input. They will just this will just instruct the user to please enter only Y or N. So E, of course, enter the valid input. Oh no, let's just update all the details. Okay, now we need to update all of the infos of the book from book author into quantity. Now let's say now let's select no, and let's see if our updates came through. Now you can see now that the book 7 has been updated. This was Java earlier. This was for command word. And the quantity was let's say 7 or 5. It's now 2. It's been updated. Now let's say the administrator wanted to delete a book from the system. Now we would only select number 4 here. What if they entered an invalid input? This is A4 with the space. It will not accept, our program would not accept it. So it only, the user should, or the administrator should only input a valid number without spaces and special characters or strings. Now it will accept. Now, of course, same as the update book, we need to specify which book ID do we need to delete or the former earlier update. So same thing. Of course, we cannot enter something that doesn't exist. For example, book 9 doesn't exist, so it is invalid. So let's say book 7, we want to delete that book. It will now show us the book ID book 7, and this was Java earlier. It has been updated into Python programming now, so it shows us that the update really came through. So now book ID 7 is do we want to delete book ID book 7 title Python programming, so that the administrator really knows what books did they actually specify. Of course, they can say no, I don't want to delete that one. So it will now show deletion cancelled for book ID book 7. But what if they actually wanted to delete that? We'll just select here, would you like to delete another book? Yes, we want to repeat the delete book section. So now we will delete book IDs book 7 still. Now we'll just confirm it yes with Y. And now the book is successfully deleted. Would you like to delete another book? No, I don't think so. So now, what if we wanted to view the books, the current books? Of course, as we can see here, it's now 6, which was 7 earlier. But we deleted the book, so now the current number of books is 6. So now we wanted to view the books, current number of books available to our system. It will now show, will not show 7 because it has been deleted. So we can say that our program successfully deleted 7. As you can see here. But if you wanted to delete book number 1, just do that by selecting number 4. yes, and as you can see, successfully deleted. So now if we select view books, oh, it's not here anymore because we have restrained or deleted it. And the current number of books is 5. Now, I am a student and wanted to borrow a book, so I'll just select 5. And now we need to enter the book ID. Of course, it has to exist. But if I enter number 9, doesn't exist in the system, I cannot borrow that. So now I'll enter book number 6. Enter book number 6, and I add. So now this will just show a notice that a student Omar Abro successfully borrowed book ID book number 6, which I entered, titled The Witcher. So now we know that book 6 exists with the title The Witcher in the system. So now they want to borrow another book. What if I selected yes? I myself, Omar Abro, wanted to borrow another book again. So now, let's say I want to borrow book number 2. As you can see now, Omar Abro cannot borrow another book because he have already borrowed a book in the system. So now, of course, we'll just select no, and we will look at book number 6 quantity. It was 2 earlier when we added, and now it has been 1. But what if another student want to borrow The Witcher? 2 more students, let's say. So now we just select book number 5, book ID number 6 again. As you can see, Jomar Aquino already borrowed The Witcher. So now The Witcher's quantity is now 0. And a user wanted to borrow a book. And from here, they entered the book ID, the book that they wanted to read. And as it happens, they also want to read The Witcher, but the quantity is already 0. So this will now show a notice. Unfortunately, the title is currently out of stock, so they cannot borrow The Witcher until Jomar Aquino returns it, and now the quantity will, of course, added to 1. So let's see what would happen if Jomar Aquino returned The Witcher. Now let's say I want to return a book. Well, let's say me first. Now, as we can see, Omar Abro exists in the database of borrowers and he wants to return The Witcher. Just select yes, because you will just need to confirm we wanted to return that book. Just select Y. Or what if I don't want to return The Witcher? We'll just select no. So do you want to return another book? Yes, but Jomar Aquino wants to return The Witcher. So now to confirmation again, just select yes. He wants to return it, and it shows successfully returned. Do you want to return another book? No. Now, as we can see, let's look here. The quantity of The Witcher should be 1 because Jomar Aquino returned it. So, of course, let's see if someone or a friend of Jomar Aquino wants to borrow The Witcher. So now, of course, you can borrow it because we have 1 as the quantity of The Witcher. So now, let's say the student want to borrow a book. can now borrow The Witcher. Want to borrow another book? Now, of course, the quantity is now 0. You cannot borrow that. Now you can see here. Unfortunately, the title is currently out of stock. So now let's go over to now we explained almost yes. Now what if let's go over with the borrower name. Now we can see Omar Abro borrowed book 6 The Witcher. Let's say yes. Successfully returned. You want to return another book? No. Let's see the books. Now L'Oreal Abiad borrowed The Witcher. So now the quantity is 1. Now if he would return it. You can see L'Oreal Abiad returned The Witcher, and now the quantity is now 2. So now as you can see, the program is functioning properly from adding a book, viewing books, updating a book, deleting a book, borrowing books, returning a book, and now we have an option to exit the program. So you can see here, reply message. Thank you for using the library. Goodbye. That's it for our library program. I am Omar Abro, and that is for our testing. That is for our testing. Thank you.